Mate, I can't function until I have my coffee.
Or just one of those like 12 multi-packs on the side. Like, yeah.
I want to be doing this and I want to be doing that, and I've got an idea to do this. There's a buzz around the shop opening. People are excited to see the shop opening.
20 million quid in coffees, yeah.
And we would not have learned that if we hadn't have walked it.
I find it fascinating.
This is only my opinion, but you want to position yourself wherever somebody's going to say, well, do you fancy a cup of coffee? And then boom, there you are.
Well, mate, thanks for coming down. Thanks for jumping on the BizzFest podcast, talking about your amazing coffee shops and sort of entrepreneurial traction over the last few years.
Yep.
So it's been pretty full on. So just tell us a little bit like where it started, how it started, when.
Okay, so the idea itself, mate, you'll know about this. So the idea itself has been in my head for years and years and years. Just one of many that's just sat up there, like. And the idea has always been, and it's a bit stupid when I look back now, but the idea was always about having a toast shop. Yeah. So a shop that literally just sells like toast, and then like tea and coffee would be like secondary.
Right.
My idea was like, if you go back 30 years and you speak to somebody about a coffee, you're going to be paying like £1 for a cup of coffee. And the idea of paying £3-4 for a cup of coffee would just be ridiculous. And yet our habits have changed and now it's kind of just normal for us. Yeah. So the idea was to kind of introduce toast in the same sort of way, but just doing different breads, doing loads of different spreads. And that was the concept. And it just sat in my head, man, sat in my head for ages. And then a shop come up for rent in Braintree, and it's right smack bang in the middle of the town. Like it was like prime location. And at this time I had a restaurant, which I've not got anymore. But I was just like, good location. I checked out the rent. The rent wasn't too bad. And so I thought, right, I'm going to go for it. And I got about halfway into the shop fit, maybe not halfway, maybe about a quarter of the way into the shop fit. And I was like, I need some help. So I spoke to two of my pals and said, look, do you fancy jumping on board? Sort of sold them the idea. And they were on board. And so we opened our first store back in January 2020, February 2020, something like that. So it was 4 weeks before COVID. We opened
nice.
the first store. Yeah. But when we opened, this is the funny bit. So when we opened, we had 156 different spreads. We had like 12 different breads. It might have been about 10 different breads. And then we just had like a coffee machine and tea. I was like, fucking, that's it. We're taking over the world. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. It didn't work. It just didn't work. Like, so the mad thing is, we imported all these different spreads. We had like chocolate sprinkles that we got in from the Netherlands, and we had all these different stuff coming up from the US, and just like these really cool spreads. But everybody would come in and go, "Can I just have Marmite on toast, please? Can I just have strawberry jam on toast? Can I just have some peanut butter?" And that was it. So we had like all these spreads, and we sold like 9 different spreads.
So you had like over 1,000 different options, wouldn't you, really?
Oh, mate, 100%. Yeah, especially if you start doubling up. Yeah, it was mental. It was mental. But I think, to be fair, I think the concept, I'll tell you one of the inspirations. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Have you heard of a place down Brick Lane called Serial Killers?
No, right.
So it was a business that set up, I don't know, it must be like 15, 20 years ago now. And all they'd done was cereal. So they just had like loads of different sort of like cereals, again, that you get from the US and from China probably, and from, I don't know, wherever, Japan. And that was their vibe. And they opened the shop and it kind of went a bit mental. Obviously back in the day that it was like Sun newspaper and all of that.
Right.
And they just got like a load of traction. And so there was a little bit of inspiration behind there. But the funny thing about that actually was I went up to Brick Lane to check it out. I went up to Brick Lane to check it out probably about a month before we opened to see how these boys are getting on. And mate, it was a shithole. It's clearly failed. They'd obviously done their thing. It obviously got like loads of traction. They'd sort of surfed this kind of media wave. Yeah. But I went in there at like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and you just had like one guy that had obviously not been to bed the night before, sort of like leaning over a bowl of cereal, just like barely able to spoon it into his mouth. And there was nobody else in the shop. Like, it was horrific. And I was like,
just one of those like 12 multi-packs on the side.
And it was just like, I was like, oh no, what am I doing? But yeah, so that was how we opened.
Right, and then that was the start to it. And then did it take much engagement from the other two, or was it like your brainchild and then they? My
brainchild completely, yeah. I mean, massive support from them, from a sort of financial support, and then Louis got his own building firm, so all the shop fits and all that. So he basically sort of, the minute that those boys jumped on board, he sent his guys into the shop and just smashed it out in no time. So yeah, absolutely invaluable. But that's kind of where they sit. So from an operational perspective, the business runs purely from from sort of me heading it up really, and then those boys sort of sit in the background and support with like leases and, like I say, shop fits, and you know, as we venture in, which I'm sure we'll come to, franchising and things like that, they're sort of sitting behind that a little bit more. But yeah, the actual idea, the concept, and how it evolved very quickly, because like I said, it didn't work. So
what was that point where you figured out it didn't work?
Straight away, pretty much.
Like literally, like day one to go, oh god, it's too much.
It was. I would say about 2 weeks in, it was like, we need more savoury. Like there's savoury spreads obviously, but it just wasn't hitting that lunchtime. Like it wasn't enough. Do you know what I mean? So where I had the restaurant down the road at the time, I got the head chef, and like I say, at this point it was during COVID. So I got the head chef to start doing some toasties. And so we were doing toasties, like pre-made toasties, but they were the nuts. Like we had like 2 rosette restaurant, and I had the chef who was doing nothing with his time. Do you know what I mean? I said, "Can you knock me up some toasties?" And he was like, he was loving it. He was like absolutely loving life and all over it. And like we were putting out the best toasties. But then it was like, "Can you do 50 for tomorrow?" Then it was like, "Can you do 60 for tomorrow?" And then it was like, "Right, I'm going to need 120 on Friday." And it sort of like, that novelty quickly wore off.
Yeah, I bet.
And so that kind of what got us started. But then we had to quickly change the model, because it was just too. It just didn't work. It didn't work for the location, and it didn't work for how we were feeding it from an operational perspective. So we started making the toasties in the shop.
Right.
So making them to order. And then that was the start of it, man. That was kind of like the start. And then and obviously along the way we've been tweaking it. But we are pretty much, I would say we're pretty much there. There's a few operational problems that we've got, that we know what they are, and they sit in the old stores and how they're set up. But the new stores have just opened in Bury St Edmunds 2 months ago. Do you
find when you open a new store, do you find that you get a peak of interest, or is it like, how long does it take to find this common ground of take-ins?
It's a great question, Andy. It's like you've done this before.
Anyone think I've opened a load of stuff and then thought, "Fucking hell, I'm going to earn a fortune." Then you go, "Oh no, I won't. No, this is the normal."
So if you went to our headquarters in Braintree, right? Funnily enough, there's a whiteboard on the wall, and it's got turnover up here, and then it's got timeline here, and it's like store opens there, and it's like that, and it goes like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. And it's managing that decline as much as you can through loyalty and stuff like that. But what we found with Bury is that we'd anticipated that, but we've not really seen the drop like we had in previous towns.
Okay.
So when we look at places like Braintree and Witham and Sudbury, like those market towns where the high street is like super important to the community, as they are, to be fair, in most towns, but particularly in towns like that, there's a buzz around the shop opening. People are excited to see the shop opening. People are talking to each other. You see the new coffee shop, blah, blah, blah. So then you open, and every man and their dog come down and they want to check out the new shop, and, you know, they'll either slate you or they'll say it's amazing. But a lot of the time they'll come in there, they'll have a coffee, they'll check it out so they can tell their mate they've been to the new coffee shop, and then they go back to their usual. It might not be a case that they have coffee every day, do you know what I mean? Or they don't necessarily go out every week. It was just purely to trial it. So there is a massive spike. And the mad thing is, and I think pretty much any business finds this, and it's about managing it, is that you open with staff that need training. No matter how much training you put into them before you open, there is no such thing as working in the shop, you know, doing it when actual customers are coming through the door. So you've got like this horrible situation where you've got an unrealistic amount of customers coming through the door, and then you've got staff that are just not trained right. I mean, it takes probably a good couple of months to really find their niche. Do you know what I mean, with regards to their speed? And so you've just got you do it is a little bit like damage limitation when you open, and you are going to see bad experiences. But I always kind of take. I don't know, I always think when you look at like Wagamama's do an opening, or you see like a KFC do an opening, and even now with all their experience, all the money behind him, they're like, Wagamama opened in Braintree and it was an absolute shit show for a couple of weeks. And it kind of makes you feel that it's not just us that's not got it right. It is actually a hard thing to pull off.
It's the equipment as well, isn't it? You might have a new set of equipment and they just can't keep up to the speed or the pace. And also I find that, especially in front of our staff, it's like a dance routine, isn't it? So they've not just got to find their own niche in what they do. They've also got to find how do they gel with the person next to them, and how do they skip and dance around each other to try and think, And when I was sort of like with the bars and stuff, when I was in them loads, you'd end up just thinking, I'm working with them today. Right, our dance routine's going to look like this compared to others. And then you'll have a new member of staff and think, well, fuck knows what today's going to throw at me, but we'll figure it out, right? So then how soon after the first of the Braintree one did you then sort of step into shop number 2?
So we were basically mid-COVID. We got the government bounce back loan, which was mad because we'd only been open 4 weeks before COVID hit. But you could, at the time, you could project what you thought you was going to take. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
And so we projected to get the maximum amount, basically.
20 million quid in coffees. Yeah.
And so we got the full 50 grand. And so we basically took that, and my business partner Dan, he's basically into women's clothes, not in a perverse way, but he sells them. And he had a shop down in Walthamstow that wasn't doing what he wanted to do, so he'd subletted it out, and the person that he sublet it out to just wasn't paying the bills or was just causing him a bit of grief. So he said, "Look, do you fancy this shop?" And it was right on the high street in Walthamstow, lovely position. Corner was right on the corner. Great shop. It was mega money. It was like 35 grand a year, which for us was a lot of money at the time. And so we decided to take that, and so we basically took our bounce back loan. Took a little bit of obviously our own investment as well, and we opened up the store in Walthamstow, and it was an absolute shit show.
Didn't work.
Just didn't work, man. You live and learn in business, don't you? Do you know what I mean? And it was just an absolute complete naivety, really from us. But the issue was we then had a model up in Braintree, and we had a model down in Walthamstow, and we were both very different. That was one of the issues. Which is why it didn't work. The second issue, and I think probably the main issue why it didn't work, is the fact that our brand was quite strong, right? And where we opened in an unknown area, you've got quite a cool coffee culture down in Walthamstow. I don't know if you know it. You've got Walthamstow Village, and it is just a cool place. And they've put since we were there, they've put loads of money, invested loads of money into the community there. So it's kind of like it's kind of stepped up at another level. And I mean, there was a Pret a Manger just around the corner from where we were going, and they were smashing it. I mean, they were queuing out the door. So before we opened, we thought, boys, this is going to be it.
There's people, there's feet.
Yeah. And so we were mega disappointed when it opened, and the footfall was like super low. But I think, like I said, I think that the problem that we had was where we've got a strong brand. You had the people that support the brand, so the people that like, you know, they want to go to a Starbucks, a Costa, a Nero's because they know what they're going to get, okay, and they don't really want, then, you know, they don't want to experiment outside of that. They know what their latte is like in Costa, and that's what they want to stick with. They looked at us and they were like, "Don't know who you are. I'm just going to go to Costa." And then you had like the true independents, the people that support the independents and say absolutely no to Starbucks and Costa coffee. And they're like, "Who are these guys? Don't, you know, we were independent. It was only our second store. We were still very much finding our feet, but they didn't want to support us because we looked like a chain. We looked like a brand." And so we kind of sat in this really like no man's land kind of area.
It's really interesting that the brand was strong enough to give off the feeling of like you already made a chain, but you was only at one shop basically.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So it didn't work, and then it was an hour and 15 minutes away. We was having to build the brand from scratch. It was a nightmare to look after logistically, operationally, and so we opened a shop in Chelmsford. That was doing okay. Obviously, still there now. And yeah, after a while, we just basically rebranded it and then put it on the market and sold the coffee, sold it as just a standard coffee shop. And somebody come along and bought it, and we lost a load of money. But a massive learning curve. And we would not have learned that if we hadn't have walked it. Don't get me wrong, it is expensive, but it has actually shaped our entire growth model, which is now just slowly and steadily expanding our footprint, so that when we open in Bury St Edmunds, for example, recently, people are like, "Oh man, we go to Sudbury, it's brilliant, we love the Sudbury one." And so, do you know what I mean? You've already got like a customer base before you've even opened the doors. And so, you know, if we look to open, you know, perhaps in Bishop Stortford or in Ipswich or anywhere like that, hopefully the principle will be exactly the same. Where they're like, "Oh yeah, we've been to the Colchester one," or "Yeah, we go to the Braintree or the Chelmsford one," or whatever it might be. And so a lot of that work's already done, and you've already got a bit of a loyal
One thing I did want to ask actually, I think it was really interesting because when you go into town and go into London, you see coffee shops like all over the place, right? But you could see Costa, you could see like 3 on the same street. Right, I don't understand it. I never have understand it. So would you ever do that? Would you ever put?
100%.
You would.
Yeah.
So why is that?
So we've got one in Chelmsford at the moment.
Yeah.
We're looking to open another one by the end of the year, starting next year by the river, which is going to be a container model.
Yeah.
We've not signed a lease on that yet, so we're just working through that. But we should be good to go. And then we would definitely open one up the other end of the high street as well. And the reason for it is that I think that as you know, I think generally we're quite lazy.
Right.
As people, especially when it comes to, you know, certain things in life. So I'll give you an example. I walk out of, you know, I don't know if you how well you know Chelmsford, but I walk out of High Chelmer shopping precinct, right? I've got Toast, which is 200 meters up on the
Over
right
the
hand
bridge,
side,
yeah.
over the bridge. But I want a coffee. Am I going to walk right the way up the other end of town to go to Toast because I want to support Toast,
Yeah.
or am I going to go to Pret, or am I going to go to Gales or whatever that's right in front of
Yeah.
me? Chances are you're probably just going to go into.
It's interesting.
I'm not saying that everybody's like that, but I think a lot of people are like that, and I think you just kind of want to position yourself. This is only my opinion, but you want to position yourself wherever somebody's going to say, "Oh, do you fancy a cup of coffee?" And then boom, there you are.
Yeah.
So I'm absolutely not surprised in any way, shape, or form that you see like multiple Costas even on the same street.
Yeah.
Because you're just getting that moment in time where that person's going, "Should we grab a coffee?"
Yeah.
You look up and there they are.
I find it fascinating because I always look at like the high street, so you could be like, oh, there's a Costa there, and then you go to the co-op, they've got another Costa machine, then a Costa machine in the petrol station, then another Costa. I go, but
I think it's very difficult. I think probably what you're doing is you're likening it to a restaurant, whereas in a restaurant in your head, you're like, I want that type of cuisine.
Yeah.
That's what I fancy, and I'm happy to get in my car for 5, 10, 15
Have a
minutes
drive
or
out.
walk right
Yeah.
across town because that's what I fancy at that particular moment. Whereas with a coffee, I think, don't get me wrong, there is definitely an amount of people that are loyal and they will follow and they are willing to walk right across town. But I think generally a latte, they just want a latte, especially their first coffee of the day. I think your second coffee, your third coffee, if you're a proper coffee snob of the day, then maybe you'll be a little bit more selective about it. But for me, mate, I can't function until I've had my coffee.
Yeah, no.
Like so I'm in the morning, and once I come out, it's like, right, where am I going to get coffee? Where am I going to get my coffee from?
So how many? So throughout that journey, so obviously you started first one, and then how many shops are you up to now?
So we went Chelmsford, then we opened in Sudbury. It was just, I'm pretty sure it's just after the Sudbury opening that we closed Walthamstow. And then we went to Whittam. Whittam is like the new style of shop fit. Right. So those first 3 shops have got like the old style. Whittam's got the new style of shop fit, which is what we still go with now. Then we done Colchester. Then we done Whittam train station. And then we've done Clacton the start of this year. And then we've done Bury St Edmunds a couple of months ago. So we're on 8 at the moment. We've got 3 in the pipeline at the moment that we're looking to hopefully. It'd be nice if we get another 2 open by the end of the year.
And then with the vision of that, then did you like, for instance, because that's scaling up, and
I'm going to caveat that, by the way, because it does make me sound like we're absolutely smashing it. We're in a position where we're being forced to open stores to dilute our central costs.
Yeah.
And if we so we had 6 stores at the start of this year. If we'd have continued at 6 stores with an operations manager, with a marketing manager, with infrastructure manager, and having that team, just opened a new headquarters as well, so we can start doing all the food prep and things like that. If we hadn't have opened more stores, the business would have been insolvent. We had to open more stores to dilute those central costs, and we have to open more stores to dilute those central costs. And there'll be, I think, once we get to about 10, then we'll probably be back in a good place again with regards to
that'd be optimum level stuff, right? So that
well, it will, but like, you know what it's like.
Then you go again.
Then we go again. Then we go again. Yeah. So look, I'm ambitious. My business partners are ambitious. We believe in the brand. We believe in what we're offering. We believe that there's absolutely a space for us in the market. I know it seems like an absolutely saturated market, but you know, Costa Coffee is owned by Coca-Cola. It is an American corporation. Like I went to the hospital into Broomfield last week. and there was a coffee shop in there called Fontana or
Yeah, it was
something
on the,
like
yeah, on
that.
the left, yeah, as you come in.
Which was just a joke. Like
Yeah,
it was so bad. And I
yeah,
would not normally knock openly other coffee shops because look, let them do their thing. Let them, I just don't believe in it. But it was poor. Like you
yeah.
go on their rating on Google, something like 1.8. Like for you to get under 2, like it's almost an achievement in itself. Um, and so I contacted Broomfield and I said, look, I would love for us to come in. And I spoke to the person that looked at it. I'd love for us to come in. We're a local business.
Yeah,
Let us come in. Let us do our thing. We can support it logistically. We're all set up because, it is a big organisation,
yeah,
Broomfield. So they're not going to want any Muppets to come in there, are they? So I sort of backed it up and they said, look, no, it's out at the moment. It's not due for renewal, blah, blah. And I went in there last week and Costa Coffee have taken the
yeah,
shop. And I'm just like, man, we've got. It just feels so wrong that you've got an American corporation in Coca-Cola that's gone in to a hospital which is very much community. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? And all of their profits will be manipulated so it goes out of the country and things like
yeah,
that. I say all of their profits. A caveat that, of course, not all of their profits, but there will be certainly some things that
yeah,
supports that doesn't support the community like we support the community. Let's put it that way.
yeah.
And they've chosen Costa over us, and it just feels like, what are you doing? Like it just feels
Why
like
would
the
they
wrong.
do that, do you think? What would have been the main reason?
I just think it's these organisations, these corporates have got the right people in the right places. They've got the right contacts, and they I don't know. They just know the right people,
Yeah,
and maybe one day we'll get there. Do you know what I mean? And we're doing the same thing, but it is frustrating to see,
yeah, it is, yeah,
because it just doesn't sit well. But look, where we position ourselves is we basically we say look at Costa Coffee, look at Starbucks, look at Cafe Nero, and whilst we are doing our own thing, look at what they do. We just do it better.
yeah,
It's as simple as that.
yeah.
Our coffee machines are better. The coffee beans that we get in are better, albeit of course it's subjective. We've all got different,
Taste, yeah,
what's nice to me is not necessarily nice to
yeah,
you. So you're never going to please all the people all the time with that. But we believe that we've got a coffee roast that sits smack bang in the middle of like a Costa, a Starbucks kind of roast. So it's
yeah,
just sort of hits that sweet spot. Our toasties are insane compared to theirs. Like, I mean, you can't even put them in the same sentence. It's just a completely different level. We're serving in 50% of our stores now. We're serving Five Guys milkshakes. Obviously, we don't call them Five Guys milkshakes, but it's the same.
yeah,
It's the same. It's the same process. It's the same machine. It's the same mix. And then on top of that, we're doing it with a smile. We put a huge amount of focus on customer service. And then furthermore, it's the community stuff that we're doing as well. So we've got our Coffee for a Coffee project. So basically every coffee that we sell in one of our stores, we are donating a coffee to local food banks. So for anybody that gets is unfortunate enough to get a food bank parcel, a lot of them will have like a little 50-gram pack of coffee
right,
in their bag donated by us. Just to support the community and support what's going on. So it's like, we're trying to build a coffee shop. So where you've got, like, if you can imagine having a Costa Coffee, a Starbucks, and a toast all sitting next to each other, that it's an absolute no-brainer.
yeah,
Why would you go to those two? Like it's ludicrous. That's what we're trying to do.
yeah,
We're at the forefront of our or we're trying very much to be at the forefront of following trends and things like that with matcha and iced coffees and things like that. We've seen a massive spike over the past 24 months. Looking at the data, looking at what customer demand wants. We do a huge amount of research. We're looking at places like Blank Street Coffee up in London and seeing what those guys are doing, and effectively just nicking what they're doing, a lot of what they're doing, and just basically they're coming up with recipes, and then we're just mirroring those recipes. So we're kind of bringing that up down into Essex. So that's what we're trying to achieve.
So then moving forward, then do you set like 1 year, 3 year, 5 year sort of goals? Is there an exit? Have you got any sort of ideas of where it's going to go?
Well, I mean, I mean, it would be nice to exit at some point.
Yeah.
At the moment, I mean, very much enjoying the journey. And I mean, realistically, if I exit, what am I going to go and do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
at the moment, like I'm never going to sit at home doing nothing. Like that is just not in my DNA. Like it drives me mad that I've just got one coffee shop to look after, or a coffee shop business to look after. I want to be doing this and I want to be doing that, and I've got an idea to do this. You know what I mean? So it's quite hard to kind of keep that contained. So yeah, I mean, an exit one day perhaps, but ultimately we just want to give more people the option to sample what we do,
Yeah.
and just I would love as a first stage for people to be coming into Essex or driving into Suffolk, and you like, we are the coffee shop
The
for the
place to go.
county.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, Costa's there, Starbucks there, but I would love it if you come into Essex and people go, oh, that's the place where Toast is, and we're dominating. We're in prime location in every decent high street. Doing things on the side of the road, do you know what I mean? With regards to, it'd be nice if we can get into some places on the A12 and all of that. But like I say, it's about knowing the right people in the right place. So it's kind of about unlocking those doors, which we're looking to do. But the initial thing for us is to get sort of 2 or 3 stores open over the next sort of nine months, and then franchising. We're doing a huge amount of work in the background at the moment to start franchising.
I was just thinking that's it. That's like basically the next natural next step in it.
100%.
It's got to be in it, because you can't, I mean, as much as it'd be lovely to have like 30, 40, 50 coffee shops, but equally the franchise model will just overtake that massively.
Well, I think, like I say, if we was to open up, if we was to get to about 12 of like sort of company owned stores, I think that's a nice amount. So we kind of understand the business enough, and we stay with our finger firmly on the pulse, and can see those pinch points and just keep working through them to then make sure that we iron those out for the franchisees. But ultimately, beyond that, franchising, 100%. And in all honesty, up until probably 5 years ago, I was almost like I didn't really understand franchising. I consider myself okay at branding, and I kind of quite enjoy the whole entrepreneurial side of business. And for me, I never really understood why somebody would franchise when you can just do it yourself.
Yeah.
But now that I understand the franchise model, I almost, in some respects, think to myself, why would you do it yourself?
Yeah.
Just follow just get a franchise. Like some of these franchise, like the franchisors, which is what we're becoming. We're not greedy, and you can't be greedy. It's a competitive market.
Yeah.
So you're basically paying a small kind of sort of what's the word? It's not subscription. It's licensing fee, and then you pay a percentage of your gross profit, which isn't a lot, like in the grand scheme of things. And then you pay a small amount of marketing, and then everything's done for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you say that you was going to say that you had 150 grand to invest in a coffee shop. You've got to do all the research. You've got to look into it. What's the machine to buy? What's this to buy? And you will make mistakes along the way. 100%.
Yeah.
We've made hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of mistakes.
So you're buying them as well, aren't you? You're buying all of that.
Exactly that. And so to be able to hand over 150 grand or whatever it might be, and then in 12, 16, 20 weeks time for me to go, there you go, there's a set of keys, and you walk in, you've got everything there, and then we support you with the recruitment. There's marketing stuff going on in the background, so you don't have to worry about following trends on TikTok and all that, because we're doing it all for you. Promotions, you don't need to worry about that, because at the end of every month we send you for a poster, and we send you for all the ingredients, and you've got all the ingredients there. You've got a quality product, it's community driven, it's ticking all of those boxes. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you do that with yourself?
And I suppose it's also things like what we're talking about at the start. We were talking about when you open you first open, you get that spike, don't you? You think for a naive sort of first time business owner, they're going to go, fucking, that's it. We've done it. Order the Ferrari, it's game on. And actually then it does. I mean, everything I've ever done spikes out and then finds this little common ground. You go, actually, now this is where we're going to be. Now there's going to be a percentile on that, which you could guess, couldn't you? Go, right, actually, if the week one we take this, 20% lower is generally where we're going to fall, maybe give or take a bit. Whereas actually they would just think, we've hit that, right, that's it, start drawing money down, or all the stupid things you do at the start, you get all excited, don't you?
Yeah.
So so there's those.
And that's what I'm saying. And we it's not just about even knowing that, it's also how to manage that. And so we would manage that for you. And actually we done some maths that if you minimize that drop after that initial opening, right, and you work that out over the space of a 5-year period, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of pounds that will be back into the business if you get it right. Because otherwise, if you allow that drop to go down too far, it's hard to do with my fingers, but if it comes down too far, so say it drops down to there, which is worst case, but you can get it to there, then that becomes your starting point, as opposed to that, and then follow that line over the next 5 years. All that there is cash. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's so I mean, you could almost argue that that in its own is probably worth the franchise fee, just for us to help mitigate against that. And we've got ways that we do that.
Yeah.
We've looked at Sudbury and not Sudbury, sorry, Bury St Edmunds. We've opened Bury St Edmunds, and we've touched wood. We're definitely out of the honeymoon period now, and the drop that we've seen compared to what we've seen in previous stores is a fraction of the amount. So we've really got that right.
I can imagine the stronger the brand and the more things you open, the less that's going to come as well, because the confidence in the consumer is going to be higher in it.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Have more stuff,
and that's the other thing as well. What we said before about going into a new coffee shop that's just opened that you don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Right. Some people are going to be nervous about that interaction.
Yeah.
What it's going to look like, what they can get. Whereas if you buy into a franchise, instantly those people, they still want to check out the new store, but they know what to expect. They feel way more comfortable. They're way more relaxed in there, and they're much more likely to come back again and again because they feel comfortable with the brand. So even that side of it as well works.
So in terms of like building a franchise model, because there's something I haven't ever done. I mean, I've read about it. We looked at doing it at one of the companies, but it just never come off in the end. So building that franchise model, how long will that take? Like, what is the work that goes into it, or is actually?
So we've been working on it probably. So we had a conversation. We've been trading now for 6 years. I would say about 2.5 years in, we said we could franchise this.
Yeah.
And I must admit, when I look back now, I look back now, I'm like, you idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like you were so far off. And maybe in 3 years' time, I'll look back at where I am now and say, like, why did I try and do it then? But it's a huge amount of work. So we've got pretty much all of our senior leadership team at the moment are all focused, apart from the obvious BAU stuff that we can't help but do. They're all focused on the franchising and writing documents and books and process mapping, and because everything's got to be written down. If you think about when you go and buy, I don't know, a box of Lego from Tesco's or something like that, and an instruction just to put that together, you've got to basically have that instruction manual for everything in your business, from a P&L perspective, from a how to serve a milkshake perspective to how to deal with a customer. You've got to have all of your policies, and everything's got to be watertight. Do you know what I mean? Like it can't be open to interpretation. And then there's all the support, and there's what does the training process look like, and you have like a discovery day for the potential franchisors. What does that look like? So they come in for a day, and I sit with them for a day, and I talk about the history of toast and all of that, and then they go and work in the shop for half a day, and then you've got the vetting process, and then you've got, like, it is honestly it's massive, a monstrous piece of work. But we're hoping to be franchise ready mid-September is what we're working towards. So
this September.
Wow. We've been, like I said, we've been working on it for a while. We brought in some consultants about 3 months ago. That we've been talking to them for about 9 months, but we brought them in officially 3 months ago. And we've basically just agreed that that's the target. So franchise ready mid-September, and then we'll be actively out there looking for people to come and join us on the journey. So
mate. It's huge, isn't it? Well, we go. One thing that we do at the end of each podcast, we ask someone, what do you want to be held accountable for in 12 months' time? So if there was one thing that you definitely would sit here again and go, Rob, did you or did you not do this one thing? What would it be?
I think probably delivering franchising. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So if in 12 months' time we could be here and I've got 2 or 3 franchisees that are up, ready, operating, and loving life, then that's
it's like start the next journey, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. Be pretty wicked, wouldn't it?
That would be pretty good.
Cheers, dude. Thanks ever so much.